Hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome to a video I have wanted to make for a long time, but I just didn't know how to say all the things I want to say. So I did something your girl doesn't normally do. Well, I do it, but a lot of times I also just be talking right out the dome. I went ahead and made an outline. Hello, I'm editing Stephanie, or rather Stephanie while she's editing. And even though I just said a couple seconds ago that I made an outline and that's where I'm going to be speaking from, and so the point was to be concise and clear and to not ramble all day, I filmed this about a month ago. So there's so much more I want to add and expound on, and instead of doing the freeze frames that I do or the let's be clear, I figure I'll just pop in like this randomly. So expect to be seeing me and whatever this guy is throughout this video, and yeah, let's get back to it. And in that outline, what I did was focus on some key areas of my life that I want to talk about for my 40th year. And that is where you get turning 40, the good, the bad, and the ugly, Stephanie's version. In this video, I am going to be going through some things that have been on my mind, some things that have happened in my life since I've turned 40, which it's only been a couple of weeks. I really want to make this video because there's so much content out there for surviving your 20s. Here's what to do when you turn 30. And the 40 content is kind of missing. Hello. So that actually is not true. There's actually several videos online you can see here on my left where people have talked about turning 40. And what I think is so interesting about the 40th year is that there's no one way to describe it. We're all in such different places. If I thought people were in different places in their 30s, I hadn't seen nothing yet until I got to 40. And I'm going to talk about that in this video. But the content is out there, and I'll link some of those videos below in the description box for this one. If you've been here for a while, you know that I like to start off with the low parts and end on a high note. And so that is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to start off with the ugly. Okay, there's not a lot of ugly so far about being 40 so far. However, there is one thing that I want to talk about because I feel like talking to my audience, I need to get this out of the way now so that I have fewer problems going forward in the future. Being old on the internet is already hard. Since I started making content, I have been aware that a lot of the feedback that I get, a decent percentage of it, is based on my age, especially at the beginning when I was talking about things that a lot of the youths were exploring. So things like pretty privilege, or things about friendship, adult friendships, friendship breakups, heartbreak. Those are themes of life that are most often talked about. Social media, jealousy in general. Most likely, or most often, those are feelings and emotions and observations that are talked about by people who are about 20 years younger than me. And you know why I talked about them in those early days? Well, number one, I had experience to add to the conversations. But number two, I would get most of my video ideas from TikTok, from the very zenith of where a lot of those conversations were starting. And it was my goal to then take the little videos I was seeing on TikTok and expand them into longer form videos here for YouTube. And so that is what I did. However, because I was doing that, initially people thought that I was a lot younger. I think folks thought I was I've seen as young as 22 when I first started, even though I was 37 when I put out my first YouTube video. And some people thought I was 27, no older than 30. But when I first started, I don't know, people just thought I was a lot younger. So when they found out I was older, I got a lot of this comment, whether it was here or other places online or other videos by other creators. I got a lot of this comment. At her big age, she's still talking about ... She can't still be talking about the same stuff at her big age. I have seen that so often since I started talking online that it has deterred me from bringing myself and my content to any other platform, because I'm like, I'm not dealing with it in any greater detail than I've dealt with it here on YouTube. Like, this is good. This is enough. I quickly figured out that on the internet, the first thing people will do is they will attack your age. Now, I want to say I've seen this happen to other creators as well. Recently, I've just seen it happen as well. And I often see that in general, women on the internet, if they age and they don't have certain markers of that process. So if you get to a certain age and you don't have a husband, oh, now all of a sudden people making videos about you. I think there was a video that I was a part of that was like, I'm 38 and I'll die alone. Thank you. Of course, we had the young woman who went viral a couple months ago because she said, hey, as a single person, this is what my day looks like. And Matt Walsh, that conservative commenter, ripped her apart. How you worthless woman with no life, you. Okay. Being a woman on the internet is already hard. Being a woman who is unmarried and childless past a certain age, I'm going to say 30, honestly, because the internet treats 30 like it is is a point of no return. And if you ain't figured it out by 30, you ain't never going to figure it out. But to be unmarried, childless, and talking on the internet after 35, at 40? Oh, you are setting yourself up for some ageism like a mother. And I knew it was coming. And it showed up in a subtle little form the other day on one of my videos. I was talking about the astrology of the Love is Blind people, and somebody came through with the, girl, you talking about astrology at your big age? And y'all, honestly, I lost it. I don't know if the comment is still up, but I was like, absolutely not. Because here's the thing. You don't stop wanting to learn things at a certain age. You don't stop talking about things at a certain age. One of the astrologers that I follow, Shani Nicholas, I think that is her name. She's 49 years old. She does astrology for Netflix, for Good Morning America, it's her business. She has an app. You don't just turn yourself away from things other people might not like or think are stupid just because you're not 20 anymore. And that's a big issue on the internet in general. People feeling like life has to happen at this time or else it doesn't matter at all. And I can't judge them too harshly because I used to be the same way. When I was 26 years old, I thought I was headed for the retirement home. And I was working, I'll never forget this, I was working in a clothing store. And my boss was talking to me, and he was 20 years older than me. And we were talking one day, and I was saying, oh, but God, I won't be able to do that. I'm so old, And I made a couple comments, and finally he turned to me and he goes, you are hurting my feelings. And it was the first time I realized that someone else has feelings here. If I call myself old at 26, someone who is older might be bothered by that. Oh, okay. Because it's like, if you think you're so old and so worthless because you're 26 and, oh God, what must you think of me? It's just like when you're in a situation where maybe you're dealing with weight issues and there's nothing wrong with your body. You're fine, but you're like, God, I'm so fat. I'm so fat. And maybe the person next to you is dealing more seriously with weight issues. Maybe they are a large person in a larger body. If you think that about your body, what does that mean you think about them? You know what I mean? So I can't judge them too harshly. I know where they're coming from. I understand it. I think it's linked to evolution. I think it's linked to our biology, but it still sucks. And so I would say the ugly thing, absolutely, for me so far about being 40 is having been so open with the internet starting in my late 30s, because that's when I started this little career. And so therefore knowing that if anybody wants to insult me, what they have done and what they will continue to do is bring up my age. And unfortunately for them, because of my experiences so far online, I'm more inclined to snap than I am to just look over it. So just be aware. If at any time you want to talk about me in any way, stay away from the age. That is the only ugly thing so far, is that I know the ageism is coming. It's already showed up. And now let's go into the bad. So the bad things are, like I said, I haven't been 40 very long. So there's not a whole lot of bad stuff, but there's a few things that I've noticed. So one of the things I was thinking about doing this year was returning to TikTok in an effort to expand my social media reach. I kind of did that a little bit, But then I posted a few TikToks, but then I never posted again. And now they're talking about banning the app, so I really don't know. But one of the things is, if I was to do like lifestyle content or something, what does lifestyle content look like from someone in my situation? 40, unmarried, childless. Do I talk about dating? Absolutely effing not. I'm never talking about that on the internet because I've seen women my age and around my age, 38, 39, talk about dating and get obliterated. So absolutely not.
Hello, I'm back. So I want to do another video where I talk about this in a different kind of detail, but I will say that one thing that I think is kind of like the line in the sand when it comes to relationship content and dating content for women over a certain age is how their narrative wrapped up in their 30s. And I have noticed that this kind of thread or this kind of narrative, this kind of story is sort of the accepted story. The idea that everything wrapped up by a certain age, everything came to you in due time, everything fell into place. And that's not my story, and that's not a lot of people's stories. Single people, period. Women, man, no matter what race. In fact, and this is kind of the video that I want to post, there was a woman the other day who made a video about being 41 and she'd never had a relationship. And in the comment section, there were people who were like, girl, it's your location. You're so beautiful. There's no reason for this. Are you serious? Never? But then there were so many other people who were like, yeah, I'm 42. I'm 46. One person said they were 54 and they'd never had a relationship. And that inspired me to go look it up. Has this been looked into? And what I am learning when I looked it up a little bit is that romantic relationships and everything wrapping up in due time is actually not the default for everybody's life. Some of us, that is not going to happen to. And I begin to lose peers, especially online, when I'm talking around women or to women who are around my same age and I'm speaking about, my life, and they did have everything wrap up. They did have that powerful 30s decade, which I've said this before on the channel. Your 30s can be so powerful. I've seen people meet someone, get married, have a baby all in 1 year. My point is that I am noticing that if you want to be a successful lifestyle content creator and you want to talk about your dating life and you're over a certain age, you need to have a story where everything wrapped up by 40. Because if not, people are going to want to attack you, use you as a project, argue with you. And I don't know, but I don't think we talk enough about that line in the sand between women who everything did wrap up, everything happened for them. And then there's those of us who it didn't happen to that way. Anyway, let's go back to the video.
Do I talk about my dogs? Do I talk about clothing and maintenance? Well, I don't go nowhere. And what I'm maintaining for, so that's hard. Do I talk about travel? I got to get to the place first. So I was like, what would I even talk about?
Okay. I want to say all of those things that I listed, even where my life stands now, are good things. When it comes to maintenance, definitely talking about the things that I do that I just started, their new routines, that is something that can be interesting. When it comes to travel, I have some travel planned. You got to get them, but once you get there, go ahead. When it comes to even my dogs, there is some interest there. But the problem becomes, do you love your life enough and are you confident enough in your everyday that you care to share it with strangers? And that is where things get a little dicey for me. So I want to say all of those are actually great ideas, but I'm not at a point now where I feel like, let's show off. Now the holidays are different because the holidays I'm like, I know this script. I know how to play this out. I know what this looks like, but I don't know Stephanie at 40 yet. I don't know this reality. And the reality I do have, I don't know if it's exciting enough or I don't know if I don't know. I'm still learning, but those are good ideas. I also want to say I do tend to film my dogs a lot, and sometimes I post vlogs of them over my Patreon, and bless you if you watch them because they are kind of boring. But here is a little trailer of what a day in the life with Stephanie and her dogs might look like if I posted it here to YouTube.
such a rock star when it came to social media. I would be I used to read, it used to be one of my favorite things to do was to read essays from women talking about motherhood, like humorous essays. One of my favorite ones was Irma Bombeck. I used to love reading her work, and I used to love looking at comics like For Better or For Worse. And when I was a kid, I would stay up late and watch Bill Cosby. You know, this is back in the day before we knew. I would watch his old comedy where he would do comedy about his family. And I always saw myself as being a person who balanced her life with her family and speaking about it publicly or writing about it or making humorous content about it. And when content creation came out and started being a thing, I was like, ooh, I would have killed it. I would have killed it as a mommy blogger, mommy influencer. Now, of course, there's a big push for people not to have their kids online. But I've seen women do things where they're like, do skits about things that happened in their family that day, and they'll play all the parts, which I think is a genius. Or just talk about what their kids did, or, set up like, what meals am I going to be serving my family? Like, I would have rocked that. And as a single person, it's hard to know, okay, how do I present my life in a way that is interesting and inviting? But not only is it hard to know how to show up as a content creator, it's also hard to know what kind of content I want to engage in. I have found that as I'm getting older, I am getting bored with the conversation cycle. There is really nothing new under the sun. I am getting bored with the fact that people continue to talk about how to become a rich housewife and then at the same time attack rich housewifery. And then at the same time, I want to be a traditional woman. And then at the same time, attack traditional women. I'm so tired of that kind of thought casserole that consistently rises up around womanhood and your future as a spouse. I'm so tired of talking about wifehood potential, whether you're going to be a wife, what kind of wife you're going to be. This is how you get married. This is how you don't. I'm out. I'm good on those conversations. I don't, people can have them and that's great, but like, damn, is that all we talk about? Every generation kind of unearths these ideas and goes through this cyclical thinking until they move on to the next stage of their life. And I feel like it's hard for me to know what kind of content to engage in. Also, it is tough because a lot of people, I thought that there were more people who, with all the news articles that came out about millennials aren't buying houses and with all the, millennials aren't having kids, it sure as hell seems like a lot of y'all bought houses and had kids. I feel like the negativity that follows my generation is a lot of clickbait. And there actually are a lot of millennials who have done very well. And so I'm at a loss with what I would present. And I'm also at a loss with what I want to engage in. Another bad thing is that I am nervous. It hasn't started yet, but I'm nervous about menopause. We've had a couple of content creators jump online, Tabitha Brown most recently, and talk about going through perimenopause. Tabitha Brown is 44. She's only 4 years older than me, I think. Damn. That's not that far in the future. So I feel like, after going through my life having periods, then the periods changing because of fibroids, now I got to get ready for menopause. I'm nervous about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I am nervous. And I don't know if it's like genetic. I don't know if it's, and I've tried to ask like women in my family. So when were you? Can't nobody remember nothing. So it's tough. I feel like I'm looking over my shoulder every month, like for my body to change. I don't know when it's going to change. So I'm anticipating that. That's kind of a bad thing as well. And I guess the last thing I can think of that's bad is I know I'm not as far as I want to be when it comes to my finances. I was under the impression, once again, because everybody was always saying, millennials are so poor. They'll never build wealth like the previous generations. Okay, great. Then you spend a little bit of time on the finance part of the internet and look like people been doing pretty well. When folks start talking about their savings, like how much they have in savings, how much they have invested, okay, so we had this property and we're doing this and with that. And I'm just like, we're doing what? Y'all got what going on? I feel, and part of this is because I did switch careers right there at the end, but I feel a lot of pressure, especially this year, to let's make another switch. Let's do this again because I've got a lot of catching up to do. Because as working as a teacher, as a single teacher, and you only have so much in savings, you're only getting paid so much, and then going to be an influencer where the money's kind of like this, or a content creator, excuse me, I'm not an influencer, content creator, where the money's kind of like this. It's just like, so if I want to catch up, I don't think I can ever catch up, but it depends on what happens. But I just know I feel very behind when it comes to my finances, and and I feel like I should be much, much further ahead when it comes to all that, when it comes to building wealth. And so it's a little scary for me, and it got real scary around getting ready to turn 40 for sure. I mean, I don't count myself out, but I definitely realize that like I'm so much further behind than someone who started working a job at 25 and has been at the same job for 15 years, building. Like I'm behind. I need to catch up. I need to get that under control. So those will be the bad things. Not knowing how to show up online as an older person, not knowing what content to engage with. I forgot what the second thing was that I said. I think it had to do with, preparing myself for another change when it comes to my body, and then also my finances, just not being I wish I was much more further along with my financial goals for sure. Okay, now let's get to the good things. So I do want to say right before I turned 40, I had about a month-long mental breakdown. February was so hard. I was having really bad anxiety attacks. I was not looking forward. Well, it wasn't that I was looking forward, but I was trying to come to grips with, wow, I really made it to 40 and this never happened, ... And of course, you probably can guess what I was waiting on or hoping for. I was really just struggling with, how do I keep going? Like, what do I do? Like, what's going on? And if you notice, a lot of my content back in February was about being creative and how to keep going and pushing yourself. And hey, maybe tomorrow the right person will see you. And I'm making those videos because I'm really talking to myself. That's why I was making that. Like, I needed to see that stuff. I needed to see, okay, this is what you would need to, like, I was making videos because those are the things that were on my heart at the time. And not only was I struggling with that, but just the very idea of like your mortality, like 40 years old, you're officially grown. The fact that like I could have produced a lifetime that was already, I could have produced a life that was already headed into its own adult era, is wild to me. And it didn't happen. And it's crazy because even though those things didn't happen, it's like, okay, well, when you turn 40, it's like, how much longer do I have on this earth? Like, is this halfway through? I was thinking about a lot of stuff. It was a lot of anxiety, a lot of sleepless nights. And I was feeling a type of way all the way up until my actual birthday. And on my birthday, I ended up paying off 2 credit cards, which was fun. As the clock struck 12, I was like cutting up a credit card. Yeah. And on my birthday, as I was cutting them cards up, I was like, okay, we're here. We just got to power forward. There is no, what if, oh my God, we're here now. We got to deal with it. And this is what we're going to do. And that's when the good part started. That's when the liberation started. And I've always been like that. Like, you can be nervous until you get in the moment. When you get in the moment, let's move. We're here. No more nervous. So anyway, I started to feel immediately, this is the best thing about being 40, the liberation. I escaped a lot of things in my life. I have survived a lot of things. And so there's this liberation when it comes to being who I am. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I posted a photo of me in a bathing suit that I took 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I never would have posted that particular photo because it's a little sexy. It's a little sexy. And that was never something I was comfortable being. I talked about this over on my Patreon. Normally, my bathing suits for most of my adult life gave adult baby. It was high-waisted pants, frilly tops, something that could have been worn in the 1950s by a toddler or their mother. But I was swimsuits were not a place that I was like, oh, I'm attractive, please see me. Which is upsetting because I've always had like a decently athletic body. Like the body's not bad. And I mostly would keep it covered up in my early 30s specifically, people would yell at me about this all the time, but I would wear long layers, long sweaters. And that came from, I've talked about this before, but people talking about my body and my dimensions when I was younger. And so I never wore shorts. I never wore, my bathing suits. I would wear I spent most of my adult life covered up. And then, when you're a teacher, you wouldn't dare post yourself in a bathing suit. Are you serious? And I've never been in a situation where I've taken a picture of myself in a bathing suit and been proud of how I looked. And this happened 2 years ago, but I wasn't comfortable posting it until now, because who gives? Who cares? Who cares? I'm 40 years old. I made it. Post the bathing suit photo. So I did. Other things that are liberating about being 40, I now have the power and the permission from myself to do whatever I want. There is no more, maybe I can't do that because I have to. No, do it. Do it. What are the rules? What are the rules? I don't know. You literally made it here without anything that was supposed to fall into place, falling into place. So just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. And for me, a big part of that has been nutrition. So I've been feeling very liberated, but I've also been feeling like I have to make sure I take care of myself. I don't think I've been doing that in the past. So, for example, I have started taking, really using the ClassPass app. If you don't know what that is, I've been really using it to book workout classes, going and working out and lifting weights and just trying to get in shape and feel good about my body. And I'm doing that not only because I'm like, take care of yourself, so you can go after what you want, but also I'm aware that this decade has the potential to be the one that can take me out or can make me. When I say take me out, I mean with everything potentially that could happen in this decade. My parents are getting older. I am starting the decade not really knowing if I'm in the right career to be able to meet my goals as a person that I have. I'm still a single adult. I am, there's just a lot of things I'm unsure about. And if I'm not in the right space mentally and physically, if you add on to that health issues or health, this decade could take me out. And so if I want to be successful, I've got to put in the work. I've got to make sure I go to the workout classes. I've got to make sure I change my diet. I've got to make sure I reduce alcohol. When I turned 40, something clicked. It was like, okay, this is game time now. It was so fun. I so enjoyed the playtime. How fun. But this is now game time. So let's move. So nutrition, taking care of my body has definitely been a very, very good thing. I think the final good thing I want to talk about is the acceptance of self. And that means acceptance of failures. That means acceptance of terrible things that may have happened. That means acceptance of and allowing myself to feel good about things that have happened. I'll be working through my stuff, and I do it publicly. And I do it because I think overall I am called to be a teacher of some sort. And so the big part of my social experiment has been how to teach people to get from A to B. That was always the focus. And whether or not I knew that I was doing that when I was in a particular situation, that is what I was doing. And so I'll always be proud of that part of not only my journey here on camera, but also my journey off camera. And so, that is the good. I would say the biggest good is that liberation. The biggest good is that feeling of, hey, I made it this far. What else can I do? And really working on removing a lot of the limits that I placed on my life, because who cares now? It's weird because it's like, I was too old to be a 38-year-old taking intro to piano. But now it's like, okay, my class is at Saturday morning at 11:30. Who cares? Who cares now? And if anybody tries to come at me with, at your big age, you're getting cussed out, you're getting blocked. Because at my big age, I'm doing everything I want to do because who cares? I can do it all. I have a body that works. I'm in good health. I'm in my right mind, and thank you, Lord, for that, because 2023 tried to take me out. I'm not even kidding. And so I'm going to do whatever I can. And that's kind of my promise to myself. So that's me. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly of being 40. For Stephanie, again, I just started. So that's what I have. Maybe I'll do an update at the end of it. I don't know. Those of you who have turned 40 or are in the 40 club, please let us know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for watching.